Hotel family. Once again, it's your brother Matthew Daniels, aka Ampu, aka the Chosen Few, and today I have a real special treat for you guys. I always like to showcase various books that I have and tell you about the stories, tales, and historical accounts that these ancient authors left behind for us. And so, it's one particular book that I have on ancient Egypt that I've shared quite often with my YouTube family and with my Facebook followers. But is some stories contained within the overall book itself that are stories written by the ancient Egyptians that are, in my personal opinion, stories and tales and historical accounts that could stand on their own and compete with stories that have been written during our time. If you're familiar with my channel, if you're familiar with my Facebook page, you've seen me bring out this book before. Okay, this is Ancient Egyptian Literature by Miriam Litcham. This particular one is volume 3, the late period. It's actually a 3-volume set. I actually have all 3 books, all 3 volumes. And what I want to do though is I want to highlight a story that's found within volume 3. Now, you have some individuals who will say that the story that I'm going to relate to you is pretty fictional, pretty mythological, made up, right? And while they may have some very strong reasoning for saying that, because there are aspects of the story that on the surface would appear that it cannot possibly be all historical. I would like to present the story how the story is presented in the literature. Okay, so just so we're clear, I'm not claiming that the story is an actual historical story, but I'm also not claiming that it is not an actual historical story. I'm claiming that this is the story that the ancient Egyptians left to us, and I just want to present the story to you, and you, the viewer, can distinguish what in it may or may not be historical. Do you understand what I'm getting at? I would like you to make your own judgment call. I'm simply here to present the story. Now, the story itself, interesting enough, is actually about a real historical figure that one cannot deny that the story itself is about the actual historical figure. And that historical figure is an ancient Egyptian named Khamweset. Okay, Khamweset. And if I'm butchering his name, I do apologize. But Khamweset was the 4th son of Pharaoh Ramses II. Now, Pharaoh Ramses II is generally known as Ramses the Great. And I have a book here, okay, The Royal Mummies, Immortality in Ancient Egypt, okay, and this is the actual mummy of Ramses II or Ramses the Great. So we know for a fact that Ramses II, Ramses the Great, is real, and we know that his 4th son, Prince Khamweset, is an actual historical figure as well. Make no mistake about that. Okay, his fourth son, Khamweset, was actually high priest of Ptah in the city of Memphis, and he was in charge of maintaining the Memphite temples and the cemeteries, and he is known to us in history as a great learned sage, and he was known to be one who restored several monuments, several tombs. He was one who was known to walk amongst the stelae and the tombs, and where the ancients had written their stories and left their knowledge and their wisdom. He was a very learned and studied individual. You have to understand, Khamweset, he died somewhere around 1213 BCE. So the Kemetic civilization can easily go back to 3000 BCE. So it's the same way that I, in 2019, may view Khamweset as an ancient individual. To Khamweset, the individuals who lived around 3000 BCE or even 2000 BCE were ancient to him. These people were hundreds and some even thousands of years removed from him. And so his ability to read the text, and his access to study the text, and his ability to discern the text made him an excellent teacher and instructor of the ancient knowledge in Kemet. Okay, and so also in this story, they're going to talk about the netter Djehuti, sometimes called Djehuti and sometimes called by the Greeks Thought. Now, he is known to be the scribe of the gods. He represents the mind, intelligence. He is the one who is said to have brought the art of writing down to mankind. Now, Thought himself, Djehuti himself is purported to have written his own book of magic and spells with his own hands when he came down to earth with the Neteru, and it is this magic book written by the hand of Djehuti himself which is at the center of this story. So let me begin. In the story, right, you have Prince Khamweset, okay, actual figure, fourth son of Ramses the Great. During his studies of the ancient stelae, the ancient texts, and the ancient writings, he found out about an individual who was ancient to him named Neferkaptah. Now, he learned that Neferkaptah had obtained the book of Djehuti, which was written by Djehuti's own hand. And he also was able to decipher from reading the text where Neferkaptah was buried. So, Khamweset, wanting to attain the book of Djehuti for himself, traveled and searched and spent many days looking for the tomb of Neferkaptah. Okay, now when he found the tomb of Neferkaptah, he entered the tomb with his younger brother. Upon entering the tomb, he found the body of Neferkaptah with the book of Djehuti strapped to his chest. And just as the story goes, when he got into the tomb, the book itself was radiating such a bright light that it lit up everything inside of the tomb. But before he could actually get close enough to it to reach out his hand and take the book, the spirit of Neferkaptah appeared inside of the tomb. And also the spirit of Ahwer, Na-Nefertiti's wife appeared as well. And so it begins a dialogue in the story between Khamweset and Na-Nefertiti and his wife Awer about the book. Prince Khamweset was trying to talk them into letting him get the book, and they were telling him, primarily the wife Awer was telling him that no, we possess this book, we purchased this book with our lives. You have no right to steal this book from our grave. And so the story goes on to where Awer begins to explain to Prince Khamweset how they were able to obtain the book. And so she tells the story of how they attained the book of Djehuti. And as the story goes, Na-Nefertiti was someone similar to Khamweset. He loved to study the ancient texts. He loved to read the text. He loved to read the stelae, and he was into the magic. He loved to read about spells, and he was a powerful magician himself, okay? And he was going through the tombs one day, looking at the walls and reading the metal netter and studying and learning. And he saw an old priest off in the corner. And that old priest began to laugh at him. And so Na-Nefertiti, hearing this old man laugh at him, he asked him, wow, why are you laughing at me? What is so funny? And so the old man says, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the idea that you believe that by reading this text on the wall, you are going to learn some deep secrets, or you are going to learn about some really powerful magic. But I'll tell you the truth. What is written on these walls is of no consequence. If you would really like to find powerful magic, and if you would really like to find some true, deep, powerful, insightful words, I know where the book of Djehuti, which Djehuti wrote with his own hand, is hidden. And if you get that book, if you read the words written by Djehuti himself, you will be able to, how can I put this? He's told him that written within the book were two specific spells. One of those spells would give him the ability to charm the sky, the earth, the water, and the stars. And it would give him the ability to understand the birds, the beasts, and the reptiles. It would give him the ability to be able to chart the stars, the sun, the moon, the stars, and understand all that goes on with the heavenly bodies. And it would give him the ability to see into the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean. This was the powerful magic contained in the book of Djehuti. And so Na-Nefertiti, hearing this, he told him, I want this book. Where is this book? Tell me what it is that I can do for you in return for the information of where this book is hidden. So the old man tells him, look, I'll tell you where the book is at, but you have to give me 100 pieces of silver so that I may not only purchase a tomb for myself, but so that I can also, when I die, have someone paid that can embalm my body, perform all the rites with my burial, so that I may receive eternal life in the afterlife with a soul. And so he also gives him a few other stipulations, but that was the basic thrust of it. He wanted to make sure that his burial was done correctly so that he would have eternal life after he passed away. And so Na-Nefertiti, being the son of a pharaoh himself, told him, okay, fine. He gave him the 100 pieces of silver, and he did everything that the old man required of him to do. And so then the old man told him, this is where you shall find the book of Djehuti, the book of Djehuti. It is deep within the Coptic Sea. And he told him that the book was contained within a gold box. And that gold box was contained within a silver box. And that silver box was contained within a wooden box. And that wooden box was contained within a box made of ebony and ivory. And there were about 6 or 7 different boxes within boxes that the book was stored in. Also, that book was at the bottom of the sea. And at the bottom of the sea, inside of all of these boxes, that box was also surrounded by 6 miles of serpents and reptiles, right? And not only was it surrounded by 6 miles of serpents and reptiles, it was also protected by an eternal serpent, okay? And so, hearing this, Neferkaptah ran out of the tomb, and he ran to his wife, Awer, who was incidentally also his sister, who, after subduing, they convinced their father, the Pharaoh, to allow them to marry. He told her all that had happened and all that he had heard, and nothing could dissuade him from finding the book of Djehuti. And Awer tried hard to dissuade him from looking from this book, because she understood that there were some things that humanity, that mankind were not supposed to have. And the knowledge of the Neteru, the knowledge of the Netters, the knowledge of God was one of those things. So she told him, do not go on this journey to find the book of Djehuti. Nothing but bad can come of this. But Neferkaptah would not be dissuaded. So she turned to the old man, who told him where the book was at. And she explained to him that cursed be you by the goddess Neith, for telling my husband this, because now he will stop at nothing to find this book. So Neferkaptah goes to his father, the Pharaoh, and he tells his father everything that he heard from the old man. And he told him about the book, and he told him that he wanted the book. And he asked his father, give me one of your ships, father. Give me one of your ships, Pharaoh, and give me equipment so that I may travel from where I am in Memphis all the way to Coptis, so that I may find this book. And so his father, the Pharaoh, he grants his wish. He gives him the boat, he gives him all the equipment, and they set out. So they set out, they make it to Coptis, and first thing they do in Coptis, it was the patron Neter was Aset. So they land, they get off, they greet the priest of Aset, they make a sacrifice of an ox, a goose, and wine, and they make a sacrifice and libations to Aset, and they spend several days performing the spiritual rites for the goddess Aset. Okay, and so after they do that, it was time to continue on their journey. So now Neferkaptah, being a sorcerer, being a magician himself, and knowing a little bit of magic himself, he took pure wax and he created a boat, and he created individuals to man the boat. And then he spoke his words of power, and he brought life to the individuals which he had made out of wax. And he told them, he attached the boat that he had created with his magical spells, he attached that to his boat. And he told the individuals that he had created with his magical spells, take me to the place where the book of Djehuti rests. And so the rowers, the wax figures brought to life, rowed day and night, day and night, day and night, until they got to the place where the book of Djehuti was at. When they reached the place where the book of Djehuti was at, Neferkaptah, he spoke another magic spell, which caused the waters to part. And deep down, they looked down and they saw the eternal serpent. They saw the 6 miles of serpents and reptiles. They saw the box within a box within a box within a box within a box, which contained the book of Djehuti. So he said his magical spells, and he dispelled with all of the 6 miles of serpents, right? Moved them away and kept them away with the barrier created by a magic spell. Then he fought with the eternal serpent, and he killed the eternal serpent, but the eternal serpent came back to life. And so he fought with the eternal serpent again, and he killed the eternal serpent, but the eternal serpent came back to life. So Neferkapata fought with the eternal serpent again, but this third time he cut the serpent in half, and he put sand in between the two pieces so that the eternal serpent could not come back together and come back to life, and thus he stayed dead. Then Neferkapata said his words of power, said his magical spells, and brought the box up to the surface. He opened the box up, he acquired the book, and he opened the book. And he read the spells that were found within. And he gained power over the air. He gained power over the earth. He gained power over the water. He gained power over the wind. He gained the understanding of the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything out in the cosmos. He was able to understand what the birds were saying, what the beasts were saying, what the reptiles were saying. He was able to understand the animals. He recited the second spell. He was able to see down to the darkest depths of the ocean, even though it's at the bottom of all of that water. He was able to see the creatures of the deep. And he was so amazed at the amount of power that he had gained from just simply obtaining the book of Djehuti and reading the book of Djehuti. He had become the most powerful human on the planet. And so what he did, he immediately, boom, he had left his wife Aware back in the other boat. She didn't come to the actual spot with him where the book of Djehuti was at. So he got back in his boat. He made a beeline for his wife. She was waiting for him. And as the story goes, she didn't go to sleep. She didn't eat. She didn't do anything while he was gone because she was so worried. Because she knew the trials and the tribulations and the struggles that he would have to go through to obtain the book. And naturally, she was in fear for her husband. So when she seen him coming back on the horizon, she was so excited and so elated. And when he seen her, he told her all that had happened, and he showed her the book. And so when she received the book, she opened it up, and she too read the spells, and she too gained power over the sky, power over the earth, power over the wind, power over the waters. She was able to understand the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything out there in the cosmos. She was able to understand what the animals were saying, the birds, the reptiles, the beasts, all of the animals. She was able to understand them. She read the second spell, and she was able to see all of the fish that were in the deep. She knew what was down there at the bottom of the ocean. So she too became very powerful in wisdom, understanding, and magic. And so Neferkapata, as the story goes, he was a better scribe than his wife. His wife was literate. She could read, she could write, but he was a better scribe. He wrote down the two spells. Then he took the two spells that he had wrote down and he dissolved them in a solution. Then he mixed that solution with water and he drank it to take it in. And when he swallowed it, and when the dissolved spells, when he swallowed it and it got inside of his body, he instantly knew the information that was held in the book. And he took the book and he wrapped it around his body real tight and tied it to himself. And they proceeded to make their way back to Memphis. He was like, let's go home, we got the book. And so while they were on their way back, Djehuti became aware of what had happened. So he made his way to Amun-Ra, the great god Amun-Ra, the god of the Netherrules, the father of the Netherrules, and he pled his case. And he said, oh, Amun-Ra, father, look at the wrong that has been done to me. This man, Neferkapata, and his family, they found my storehouse and they raided it. He killed the eternal serpent, the one that I had protecting my possessions, my book. He killed him. And then he stole my book. Please allow me to correct this wrong. And Amun-Ra told him, his life and the life of all that are with them are in your hands. And so Djehuti, using his powers, he made it to where, with his own magic and with his own spells, that none of them could make it back to Memphis alive. And so, When they got to a certain particular part on their way back home, Neferkata's son, who was on the boat with them, for no apparent reason, he came up from the bottom of the ship, fell over the ship, and he drowned. The people that was attending on the ship, they saw it happen. They called to Neferkata, and Neferkata, your son has fell over into the water and he is drowned. So Neferkata said a spell to the waters, and his son's dead body floated up. And he said a spell to his son's dead body so that he may talk to the deceased child. And the deceased child told him all that had happened to him. And he had told him what had transpired with Djehuti going to Ra about them stealing the book. Because you see, once he was in the afterlife, he was privy to what had actually transpired. And so knowing this, Neferkata went back to Coptus, took his son off, went through the process of mourning, had his son embalmed, had his son wrapped up, mummified or sahuified, turned into a sahu, and had him buried. And then they made their way back for home. When they reached the spot where his son fell over and drowned, his wife, Awer, fell over off the ship into the water and she drowned. The attendants on the ship, they called to Neferkata. Neferkata, your wife has fallen and she has drowned and she is dead. So Neferkata said the magical spells, brought her body back up out of the water, her lifeless body back up out of the water, said his magical spells to the dead body. Her spirit was able to commune with him, and she told him everything that had happened, and she also told him about Djehuti and how he was angry about the book. So Neferkata went back to Coptus. He took her body off, went through the process of mourning, had her embalmed, had her turned into a sahu, had her mummified, and had her buried with their son. Then, Neferkata, knowing that there was no way that he could make it back to Memphis alive, just him and the book that was strapped to him, he fell over into the water and he drowned. The individuals on the ship, they took the ship back to Memphis. On the way back, somebody sent word to Pharaoh. Pharaoh heard that his son had died, his daughter had died, his grandchild had died, and he had a heavy heart. And he came on and asked what happened, and everyone told him what happened. But it just so happened when the boat had docked, when Neferkata's body had went overboard, it had got caught to one of the pieces of the ship, and it was dragged along at the bottom of the ship in the ocean. And so when they realized that they had Neferkata's body, they pulled him up out of the water. And when Pharaoh seen it, he said, "This is such a tragedy. This is such a tragedy. Bury Neferkata in the book where nobody will ever find it. Bury them and give them all of the burial rights of someone who is the son of Pharaoh." And so after explaining this, Awer told Khamweset, the son of Ramses II, "So you see, we purchased this book with our life, so it is not right for you to steal it," right? And Khamweset responded by saying, "Give me the book. It doesn't matter to me what you went through to get the book. I want the book." His mind was gone. He wanted that power. And so he reached forth his hand to take the book. And Neferkata stopped him and said, "Okay, wait a minute. Okay, if you want the book, how about you play me in a game?" Now, the ancient Egyptians, they had a game that we don't know the rules of it to this day. We don't know how it was actually played. But it was a board game, and it may have looked something like chess. Okay? And Neferkata said, "Play me for the book." And so Khamweset played him for the book. They played one time. Naneferkapatah won, and he said a magic spell, and Khamweset sunk in the ground up to about his knees. And so they played another game, and Naneferkapatah won again. And Khamweset, he sunk deeper into the ground to his genitals. They played the game again, and Naneferkapatah beat him fair and square again, and he sunk down further into the ground all the way into his ears. And when he saw that he had lost and he was going to continue to lose, Khamweset called out to his brother who had come into the tomb with him, and he told him, "Go, tell my father all that has happened, and have him send me my amulets and my magical amulet and my magical item," because Khamweset was a sorcerer as well. So his brother runs out the tomb. He goes and tells his father, Ramesses II, Ramses the Great. He tells him all that had happened. Khamweset went into the tomb of Naneferkapatah to get the book. The spirit of Naneferkapatah and the spirit of his wife, Awer, both showed up. They played the game, and now he's buried through magic. He's buried down to his ears. And he's asking for his amulet and for his magical items. And so Ramses the Great says, "Here, he has the servants give him the amulet and the magical items." And the brother runs back to where Naneferkapatah's tomb is at, and he takes it to his brother Khamweset. So Khamweset, obtaining his magical items, he breaks the spell that Naneferkapatah has on him, and he springs up out of the ground. And when he springs up out of the ground, he reaches out his hand and he snatches the book from the body of Naneferkapatah, and he proceeds to run out of the tomb. And on his way out, Awer, his wife, is sad, but Naneferkapatah tells his wife, "Don't fret. I will make him bring the book back with a pitchfork in his head and a lighted brazier on his head." And so Prince Khamweset, he runs out of the tomb. He has the book. So once he gets out of the book, he reads it. He reads it, and the same thing that happens with Naneferkapatah happens with him, right? He gains power over the sky, the earth, the water, the winds. He understands the movements of the sun, the moon, the stars, everything out in the cosmos. He understands what all of the animals are saying, the birds, the reptiles, the beasts, right? He says the other spell, and he's able to see in his mind's eye all the way down into the bottom of the ocean. He's able to see all of the creatures of the deep. And he becomes the most powerful sorcerer, the most powerful magician in all of the world. And he goes around telling everyone about the book and what he has found and the power that he has obtained. And so some time goes on. Khamweset is going on about his business. And one day he's out, right? He's out wandering around. He has his servants with him, and he sees a beautiful woman walking with her servants. And she's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. It's a beautiful woman like he has never seen before. And so he tells one of his servants, "Hey, go find out who that woman is." So a servant goes to find out who the woman is, and the servant talks to one of the servants of the woman. And he's like, "Hey, who is that? Who is your master?" And she says that it's Tabubu. And Tabubu is a daughter of the high priest of Ptah. And so the servant goes back, tells Khamweset who it is, and Khamweset sends another message, and he says, "Hey, tell her I will give her gold if she will let me sleep with her, or if there is someone who has brought up a charge against her, I will take care of it. Or just ask her, what is it that I must do for her so that I must sleep with her because she is so beautiful?" So the servant goes back, talks to the other servant, ends up talking to Tabubu, and Tabubu tells him, "I am high class, right? I am of priestly blood. My father is the high priest of Ptah. I am not some lowly prostitute on the streets. Okay? If you want to have sex with me, if you want to have your way with me, I have a house. You could come to my house, right? Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't the priest of Ptah, it was the priest of Basset, I believe. If you want to have your way with me, you must come to my house. And so, Khamweset, eventually he goes to her house, he's let in, she takes him upstairs. And so he's telling her, okay, let's do this thing that we came to do. And she says, wait a minute, you can go back to your house right now. You don't make the rules. If you want to have your way with me, what I need you to do is write up a deed, write up a legal document saying that everything in your possession is mine. I don't want a few gold pieces. I don't want you to just right something wrong. I'm not some lowly woman on the streets. I'm of priestly blood. And so Khamweset says, fine. So they call in someone who's learned. They write up a legal document and both parties sign the legal document that everything in Khamweset's possession now belongs to her, Tabubu. And so he says, okay, I have signed the document now. Let's do what I have come to do. And she says, wait a minute, you can go home right now. I'm not a lowly woman. I'm a high class. I'm of priestly blood. If you want to have your way with me, then what you're going to have to do is get your children to agree to this document, because I don't want my children to have to fight with your children about your possessions. And so he has his children brought to him, and he has his children agree to the deed and sign the deed and say that everything that he has is now theirs, and he gives away his children's inheritance. And so he says, okay, I signed the deed. I have my children sign the deed. Now let's do what I came to do. And she tells him again, you can go home right now. I'm not a low-class woman. I have priestly blood. If you want to have your way with me, that deed is not enough. I don't want my children to have to fight with your children about your possessions. If you want to do this with me, then you need to kill your children. And so Khamweset, so caught up with her beauty and wrapped up in the moment, and Tabubu, she had anointed him with oils already. She had laid all kinds of incense already, and she had changed into this robe that was royal linen, the story says, and it was see-through. It says that Khamweset could see all her limbs, so she was working her seduction, working it. And so she had done all of that, and so he's looking at her. He can see her shape, he can see her form, and he already rubbed down with oils, and she got the incense burning, and it's smelling good, and it's looking right, and the setting is nice, and he wanted so bad. He said, look, the thing you ask is an abomination, but let it be done. And so Khamweset, caught up in the moment, has his children killed, thrown out the window of the house, and the dogs and cats eat at their bodies. And as he hears them eating at their bodies, he tells her again, now let us do what I came to do. And Tabubu says, okay, lay down on this couch made of ivory. And so Khamweset lays down on a couch made of ivory.